Okay, well, I hope you guys can hear me this time. I don't know what the issue was, but let's get to it. So today is going to be the eighth episode of High Minds. What this is going to be is a it's mainly going to be a cannabis podcast, but we're also going to be covering martial arts and just a bunch of other stuff. So not really going to say it's necessarily just one thing just yet, but you'll see a bunch of stuff on here, so don't be surprised. With that being said, let's cover some of the up and coming fights that are going to be happening on December 2nd, actually on my birthday. It's going to be a bunch of fights, not just UFC fights. There's going to be a UFC fight night that's actually going to be really, really cool to see. There's a bunch of fights on there that are actually really exciting. Wait 1 second. Can you actually hear me right now? Just send a thumbs up if you can hear me. I had a tried last time and it didn't work where we couldn't hear me. So let me just ask the question real quick before we get started. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's get into it. So on December 2nd, there's going to be Mike Perry versus Eddie Alvarez. This one right here is going to be bare knuckle. Just going to be madness. This one I already did a video on, so I'm not going to really talk too much on it today, but definitely if you are a fight fan, go watch that. You're gonna be amazed. That's gonna be just just madness. I can't even like find words for how brutal it's just gonna be. It's gonna be crazy. So with that being said, there's also gonna be a bunch of fights, UFC fights that are gonna be happening. One of the fights that actually got canceled on that card on December 2nd is Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker, which is sad to see, but Dan Hooker broke his arm. Dan Hooker actually broke his arm, the same arm supposedly, during his last fight and still knocked the guy out. It's wild, but somehow, some way, it happened. Um, with that being said, though, this is really going to be a crazy fight night card. It's not even a pay per view card. So I think everyone will be able to get to enjoy this one. It's going to be on TV if I'm not mistaken. So this one's going to be very cool to see. It's really going to be just dope for the fans because if you check out all the fights, they're all like very evenly matched, but they're just savages. There's Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. There's Rob Font versus Davison Figueredo. There's uh, Benil Dariush versus Armin. Not really good at saying his last name. It's this guy. I actually think that could possibly be the next champion, but I'm really just terrible at saying his name. I can't lie to you. So let's move past that part. But the other fight that I really wanted to speak about real quick is Yuri Prohashka versus Kamzat Chimaev. This isn't officially booked yet, but they both have been going back and forth, kind of talking about the fight. So it's very possible that this actually might happen. This is me finally getting to be a nerd, finally getting to fucking move the glasses. I just got these stupid glasses, but let me get back on track. Yuri versus Kamzat. This is gonna be fucking madness. This is gonna be madness. I can't even imagine this one being boring for 1 second because Kamzat, he's chasing the takedown. Yuri's chasing that knockout, and Yuri will be able to find some crazy shots. So honestly, this is just gonna be wild to see. I truly, if I was to put my money on it, I would say Yuri, totally off the fact that he just moves so weirdly that it's going to be interesting to see if Kamzat can actually get that takedown and if he can actually keep him down. But if he can, then as you know, it's going to be Kamzat. So this is going to be fun for the fans overall. It's not really a fight that you're going to bet on, but if you're a fight fan, you're going to be just blown away. That one's going to be just madness. But one last MMA thing I wanted to speak on before I move on to cannabis topics is Bellator and PFL. So PFL actually just bought Bellator, which is wild. That is a wild thing to see in the MMA world. If you are familiar with either of those organizations, then you'll know that both of those organizations aren't necessarily like elite, but they're like right there with UFC. They like probably the ones right below UFC. So this is going to be wild to see. What they're going to do is, since PFL bought Bellator, they're going to have an event where both of their champions face off against each other. It's going to be wild to see, but I think that this is going to be just really good for the whole community of martial arts. This is going to really create that more quality over quantity thing, which is good for any type of market, in my opinion. But with that being said, let's get into the cannabis stuff. Probably bored you guys with the martial arts stuff, but I hope there is some people out here who watch this are that are fans of both cannabis and martial arts. I think that it's two things that kind of mix in well with each other. So, with that being said, one of the topics that I wanted to talk about for cannabis is East Coast weed. Is it actually developed enough to actually compete or be compared to West Coast weed yet? It's something I want to discuss real quick. It's definitely a topic that I think the community would be somewhat interested in because of mainly just off the fact that there is actually some fire East Coast stuff. So I could actually just mention those people and give them a little bit of credit because there's definitely some really good brands out there. Let's just say it like that. Say it easy and just blunt. But before we talk about that one, we're also going to be talking about if any possible or is it possible for any strain to be is it possible for any strain to be great if it's grown by the right grower? That's a definitely something that I think is something a lot of people kind of shit on. A lot of people are always talking about, oh, this strain sucks, but it's because the person you got it from sucks. Let's just say it how it is. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of growers out here that could dial that other strain in and make it be great, which is very hard to do. There's some people that are like specialists in some different things, and you might try one batch from them that might just blow you away. It might make you see exactly why this strain has hype because there's even like blue dreams out there supposedly. I've heard that there's blue dream out there that is actually elite and actually is something that will be really impressive for any smoker, whether it's someone who's connoisseur, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, whatever it is. But we're also going to be talking about cured weed. This right here is going to be able to show you guys what I'm talking about when it comes to the cured weed. That's going to be a perfect topic since I have something to actually demonstrate. But also, what is one strain that you would bring to an island if you had one option? That's going to be the last topic, but we're going to cover the last topic first. Actually, I think that this is probably a great little segue in. So, what would be a strain that you guys would take onto an island if you had one final strain to smoke? What is that one strain that has made such a great impression on you that if you were stuck on an island or say all the growers were just changing lanes or just giving it up or just dying off, or whatever way you want to phrase it, what would be that one strain that you would need kept around, whether it's gas, candy, whatever it is? You have to pick one strain, or if you had to pick one, um, what would it be? I know for a lot of people they would say Skittles. I know for a lot of people they would say sour, which I truly haven't had a batch of sour for me to be able to say I would pick sour, but I see why people like sour a lot. I do like those effects, but me personally, what I would say is OG. 100% I would pick OG over everything just cuz if you get a good batch, it can taste decent. It's not going to taste bad, but it's definitely going to have this really nostalgic, nice taste that is just going to be really good for any fan that's been smoking for a while, you know? I don't know why I said fan, but connoisseur, whatever the hell you want to call it. But that being said, that's kind of a dull topic. Let's move on. Um, this right here, this is the perfect segue. Since it is OG Kush, as you guys can see, sometimes OG is harder to dial in properly. When I got this batch right here, it was very disappointing because it wasn't smoking great. It was definitely still needing some time to actually fully cure and fully get to that final level, that final stage where it's actually going to produce clean, consistent smoke. Which out of a bong, I will admit this smokes great. Even smoked great when it was not fully cured, but um, I don't know. I have weird standards, I guess. So, what you guys are gonna notice? See how it's kind of white? When I first received it, it was literally black, which literally is just a sign that it wasn't fully cured. Curing is when they dry it out, kind of when they get it to that final stage of being able to consume, because you can't consume or you can't burn a plant that is still wet. You know what I mean? Like there's, whether it's completely organic or whether it's used or used fertilizers, whatever, to actually get the job done, the plant has to get that water and get that stuff out of it and kind of dry out and die almost for you actually to be able to consume it. You know what I mean? You could technically wash it first and get all the hash off. And I've heard people say you can smoke super fresh hash. You can take the trichomes off, and it could be like only a few weeks or a week after harvesting. And supposedly you could take the trichomes off and wash it, get some hash, and smoke it like that. But when it comes to flour, can't do that. You have to make sure it's dried and make sure it's cured to the level where it's actually going to be able to be enjoyed. It's weird, but it's just the way it is. And that's kind of what I see, like the difference in, if you are burning something that isn't fully cured in a joint compared to burning it in a bong, you'll be able to actually somewhat get effects out of the bong before it's fully cured. Which I don't know if that's like science. I don't know what the fuck, if that's proven or not. But I think what that is the fact that you're just accessing the trichomes better out of the bong or something. I don't know. I guess that's kind of like bro science right there. That's kind of weird, but um, you guys will be able to see it better now. See how there's a little bit of black salt and pepper, kind of. What that is still a little bit of water in it. Still super fresh. Actually, I have the flour right here. So, I know I'm not really talking much right now, but let's get back on track after I just show you this. This is really fresh, clean flour, so will stick right to my hand. It will be harder to break up, but it's, I prefer it fresh than dead, you know? So, definitely an interesting topic. Let's move on. Is it possible for any strain to be good if it's grown by the right grower? I truly do believe this is a fact. I kind of just spoke on it a little bit, but I think that there is definitely specialists that can actually dial in any strain. I literally just seen a batch of Purple Punch recently that was turning heads. People were actually happy about it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not necessarily going to say those people are experiencing the best smoke in the world on a consistent level. So it is what it is. But I've seen people that were ecstatic about this Purple Punch very recently. So what that shows me is I think any strain could be great if it's grown by the right person. Because I even got to try that purple punch, and it was pretty good. Not bad, but it's just like you know. With that being said, I just really think that what we would benefit from at this moment is people trying to be more of a specialist, more of a like an OG only person, or a sour only, or a haze only, or a candy only. If people really became specialists in those fields, what we're going to see is massive growth in those fields. We're actually going to see some super dialed in products where it's actually going to be super enjoyable to smoke each time. We'll also see like big evolution in those fields, in my opinion. What we're seeing right now is a lot of delayed evolution almost. We're seeing this like standstill in the game because everyone's just trying to compete with bags. Everyone's trying to compete with pricing and stuff that is like really irrelevant to the growth of the game. So it's almost at a standstill, but it's picking up, it's doing things. It's definitely being it's getting to that level where it's going to be possible for great things to happen. I already am seeing a lot of great things happen, so I should probably not speak bad about it, but I think that there's going to be some huge evolution in the next year or so. What a blessing it is to have OG. So relaxing and so just like peaceful. I love OG. It's one of those strains that just every single time it's gonna hit, it's gonna work. You know what I mean? So if you never have tried OG, if you're someone who's more of one of those candy smokers, one of those like newer age smokers, give it a try one day, or at least try it from someone that's getting some proper stuff. You know what I mean? Try it like a proper batch. So the last conversation, um, noticing I'm kind of slacking, but the last conversation that I wanted to speak on is going to be East Coast and West Coast. How are they comparing at the moment? How is stuff flowing? Is the flower from the East Coast doing as well as the West Coast? And I would say, yeah, definitely comparable at this point, which is interesting to see because go back a year, 2 years ago, there was no conversation about that, or like no realistic, like serious conversation about that being had. So at this point, it's developing. I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of potential for all of these East Coast growers, not only because the West Coast is kind of caught up in the moment when it comes to the candy game and caught up in the moment when it comes to the bag game, but it's also just dope to see how many people are actually growing some high level cannabis in Massachusetts or just in the East Coast. I think that there's so many people. I can list a few. So, ones that I actually would highly recommend from the East Coast that I've tried is Bronson. Um, who else? Let's see. Who would I highly recommend actually like going to? I would say Bronson's definitely at the top of the list. I should probably make a list about this, but I'm just saying, look at this resin ring. It's not burning super white, but the resin rings. Okay, nice. Um, I've heard OG Cookie Monster's doing some really, really high level things. He's more of like a candy guy. I've actually heard that there's like so many New York ones, but I just haven't tried them, so I probably shouldn't necessarily recommend them just yet. But if you have the opportunity, check out the New York scene. Check out like all the new stuff that's coming from the East Coast because I really do truly believe that it's comparable. I would say obviously Cali's way ahead of the game. I'm smoking flower that's grown in Cali right now, but I would say that the stuff that I've been trying on the East Coast is it's just great to see the rapid development. There's not too many places that I really expected to have this much success besides like New York obviously, but like even Boston. I would say even Boston, like the scene out here is really nice. It's really cool. It's really developed compared to how it was a few years back, but I feel like I'm kind of just re-saying the same thing. So G's got me a backtracker right now. So let me kind of explain to you guys what this podcast, like what's the goal with it. In the bigger picture, I do want to do a lot of interviews and I do want to do a lot of different content that's going to be much different from this. So as you guys can see this is definitely the very beginning. So there's a lot of the things already, so I'm not going to go too deep into saying that again. But when I say the interviews and stuff, those aren't just necessarily only going to be cannabis people, but I'm going to try my best to line up this one interview, maybe, hopefully, this weekend, maybe, hopefully. Don't want to say any promises yet, but I'm going to try my best to have one very, very soon where it's going to be pretty interesting, to be honest. We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. So I'm not gonna actually say any of the topics yet, just because I don't know who exactly out of the two people is gonna be the first one. But one of the people we're definitely going to be discussing a lot of stuff about organics and a lot of stuff about the kind of like the clean side of cannabis, which some people might be bored about, but in the bigger picture, if you have patience, then you are gonna gain a lot of knowledge and you're going to be able to do a lot with it. So I definitely would highly recommend checking those ones out. But in the meantime, I will have a lot more content coming. I will have a lot of martial arts stuff. So if that isn't your cup of tea, you don't have to watch it. If you want to unsubscribe, it is what it is. I appreciate you guys for watching anyways. With that said, I will have a lot more cannabis stuff too. So don't get mad. I will have a lot of stuff coming. Definitely appreciate everyone that has been watching. The video that I just posted yesterday, outdoor versus indoor, was more in depth, showing you guys the pros and the cons of both sides, which is something that I think is super necessary for the community. A lot of people just don't know the value in some really good outdoor cannabis, which I'll show you guys some really, really high level outdoor cannabis next week. I'll actually be able to show you guys on live and you'll see. You'll see. This stuff obviously just got me super high. Didn't even finish the joint, but that other stuff, I won't be able to talk proper. It'll definitely be funny to see. So tune in and watch that. I definitely appreciate you. Stay blessed.